Good evening and welcome to CYC News for the 22nd of April 2018 and the 14th of Bermuda 17:34 AM. I'm Justina Twadros, and in today's headlines, Israel says Iranian drone shot down in February was weaponized, chemical weapons experts blocked from Syria attack site, nearly 1,000 injured in the latest Gaza protests, Pittsburgh police told to bring riot gear in case Trump fires Mueller, widespread power outage continues in Puerto Rico, more illnesses reported in E. coli outbreak connected to romaine lettuce. But first to Israel, where the country's military has said an Iranian drone shot down by an attack helicopter after it crossed into Israeli airspace in February was weaponized. The unmanned aerial vehicle was armed with explosives and was tasked to attack Israel's territory, the Israeli Defense Forces said in a report. The military said the UAV was identified and tracked by Israeli defense systems until its destruction, effectively eliminating any threat the Iranian aircraft posed while flying towards Israeli territory. The military said it came to its final conclusion after analysing the flight path and an operational and intelligence-based investigation of the remains. The February 10 incident led to Israel's launching retaliatory strikes that hit targets inside Syria, including what Israel says was the drone's base of origin, the T4 military air base near Homs. The Israeli military said the drone was based on the Lockheed Martin RQ-170 Sentinel, which Iran intercepted during what the US called a reconnaissance mission in December 2011. It was the first time an Iranian drone had crossed into Israeli airspace since the start of the Syrian civil war, Israeli Army spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Concreus said in February. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Bahram Khazemi said at the time that the claims regarding the downed drone were too ridiculous to address. To Syria now, where despite having UN clearance, UK officials said the Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons still could not enter the city of Douma, 2 days after the latest suspected chemical attack, where dozens of Syrian civilians were killed. The United Kingdom said Syria and Russia have blocked OPCW investigators from entering Douma, and the United States said Russia might have tampered with evidence at their site. A representative of Russia's military said late last Monday that OPCW inspectors would be permitted to travel to Douma on Wednesday. Addressing journalists at the Hague, Igor Kirillov said Wednesday is when we expect the arrival of the OPCW experts, and Russia is not preventing this in any way. Russia said its security forces would assist the OPCW inspectors. On Monday, Russia's envoy to the OPCW, Alexander Shulgin, released a statement accusing the Syrian Civil Defense White Helmets of using US funds to fake a suspected chemical attack. To Gaza now, where Palestinian health officials said one person was killed and 968 others injured in Gaza last Friday, as Palestinian protesters demonstrated for the third week along the border fence between Gaza and Israel. The protest, dubbed the March of Return, has resulted in confrontations between Palestinians and Israeli troops. The Palestinian Health Ministry said 28-year-old Islam Hirazallah was shot in the stomach east of Gaza City and died of his wounds. The ministry said many of the injuries were the result of live ammunition and tear gas fired by Israeli soldiers. In one incident captured on video released by the ministry, a paramedic station set up near the southern site of Khan Yunis to treat the wounded was hit by tear gas. 10 paramedics were treated for tear gas inhalation. The Israel Defense Force said in a statement 10,000 Palestinians had gathered in 5 locations along the border fence. The IDF also said several attempts to harm or breach the security infrastructure along the border had taken place, including the detonation of an explosive device near the disused crossing point at Karni and the throwing of firebombs. The Israeli military and officials have repeatedly said they will not allow any breach of the fence, and those who do not abide by the rules of engagement will be shot. The goal of the March of Return protests, Palestinians say, is to cross the border fence and return what they say are their lands, which became part of Israel 7 decades ago. In the US state of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh police ordered its detectives to bring riot gear to work on Thursday in anticipation of protests should President Donald Trump fire Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Police Commander Victor Joseph reportedly sent an email out on Wednesday instructing major crimes detectives to bring full uniforms and riot gear to work until further notice. In the internal memo obtained by local media, Joseph said there is a belief Mueller may be fired and large-scale protests were expected in the central business district within 24 hours if it happened. The protests would be semi-spontaneous and more than likely happen on short notice, the memo said. Based on this information, beginning tomorrow, April 19, 2018, all major crimes detectives are required to bring a full uniform and issued protective equipment with them to work until further notice. Mueller is investigating Russia's alleged meddling in the 2016 presidential election and possible collusions with the Trump campaign. The president has described the allegations as a hoax created by Democrats after their loss in the election. To Puerto Rico now, where in another blow to its recovery efforts, an island-wide power outage left most of the country in the dark, with only a fraction of residents regaining electricity by Wednesday night. The latest blackout prompted Governor Ricardo Rosello to call all the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority to cancel his contract with the subcontractor that caused the massive outage. In a statement Wednesday, Rosello said, "I have suggested to the PREPA board of directors that they cancel the contract with the Cobra subcontractor who is directly responsible for this power outage." According to PRPA, an excavator operated by D. Grimm, a subcontractor for Cobra acquisitions, apparently caused the blackout. And according to Mammoth Energy, Cobra's parent company workers had been removing a fallen tower when the machine got too close to an energized line. An electrical ground fault caused the outage. The same company was responsible for an outage that affected 870,000 customers after the tree fell on the power line last week. PREPA said Rosello said this is the second power failure that has affected people of Puerto Rico in less than a week. This incident denotes the need to transform PREPA into a cutting-edge, modern and robust corporation. This is another example of why Puerto Rico's energy infrastructure needs to incorporate new forms of power. According to a tweet from PRPA, as of 8 p.m. on Wednesday, only 334,000 customers in the US Commonwealth had electricity again. It also said via Twitter that it's working to restore service through the islands. And in health news, the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has said the number of people hospitalized due to a multi-state E. coli outbreak linked to chopped Romanian lettuce continues to grow. About 53 people have been reported sickened in 16 states since March 13, with 31 of those hospitalized. 5 of them developed a type of kidney failure associated with an E. coli illness called hemolytic uremic syndrome, which can be life-threatening. The higher number of E. coli cases have been in Pennsylvania, Idaho, New Jersey, and Montana. The outbreak has also reached consumers in Alaska, Arizona, California, Connecticut, Illinois, Louisiana, Michigan, Missouri, New York, Ohio, Virginia, and Washington. Symptoms of E. coli typically begin 2 to 8 days after consuming the bacteria. Although most patients become ill 3 or 4 days after consumption. Symptoms include severe stomach cramps, diarrhea, and vomiting. Most people recover in 5 to 7 days. Those most at risk for E. coli illness include the very young, the very old, and individuals with compromised immune systems. Health officials had issued a warning for residents and restaurants about chopped Romanian lettuce grown in the Yuma, Arizona area last week. The outbreak investigation is ongoing and health officials have not yet identified a single brand, supplier, distributor, or grower as the source of the contamination. In the meantime, the CDC guidance for consumers remains unchanged. The restaurants reported using baggaged, chopped Romanian lettuce to make salads. At this time, ill people are not reporting whole heads or hearts of romaine. The agency recommends that people across the United States stay away from chopped Romanian lettuce. And that's all for CYC News. A reminder that you can watch this news bulletin again throughout the week on YouTube. I'm Justina Tuadros from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia. Have a good night.